Well, you know, every time that I look at the cameras, that another woman leaves her husband for Mr. Wonderful.
I've heard.
Well, you know something? I'm losing sleep about that.
You could say Paul Orndorff ending Vader's career might just be the wildest moment of his entire run, and that's saying a lot. We're talking bigger than the racial discrimination lawsuit, bigger than the property tax mess, and yep, even bigger than that whole GoFundMe drama. So just imagine how insane this situation must have been. Let's dive into it. So here's how it all went down. One of the most talked about backstage brawls in wrestling history. And at the center of it, Paul Orndorff and Big Van Vader. At the time, Orndorff wasn't wrestling anymore. He was working behind the scenes as an agent for WCW. Now Vader, being the big, intimidating guy he was, had a reputation for throwing his weight around. But on this day, things didn't go his way. Apparently, Vader showed up late for a show, and Orndorff wasn't having it. He called Vader out on it, and the whole thing exploded into a heated argument. No one can seem to agree on every little detail, but most versions of the story say it turned into a full-blown fight. And shockingly, Orndorff came out on top. That's right. Even with one of his arms weakened from an old injury and wearing nothing but flip-flops, Orndorff beat down one of the toughest guys in wrestling. After that, Vader's time in WCW quickly came to an end. And just like that, Paul Orndorff's reputation as a real-life tough guy wasn't just talk anymore, it was legend. But that wasn't the only controversy tied to Orndorff's name. Fast forward to the year 2000. WCW found itself in the middle of a racial discrimination lawsuit filed by wrestler Ricky Reeves. Several names came up in the case, and one of them was Paul Orndorff. The lawsuit claimed that Orndorff had used racial slurs and made some seriously offensive remarks. Former referee Randy Anderson even said Orndorff hated blacks and made comments like, "WCW isn't hiring black people, and black people shouldn't be in our sport. They should be in basketball." Whether people believe it or not, those words stuck. The lawsuit was eventually settled out of court, but the damage to Orndorff's image lingered. As if that wasn't enough, Paul faced another set of struggles later in life, this time with his health. In his later years, Orndorff began showing signs of dementia, and his son, Travis, believed it was caused by chronic traumatic encephalopathy. It's a brain condition linked to repeated head injuries, something that's sadly become common among football players and wrestlers. Paul was even part of a class action lawsuit in 2016, along with other former wrestlers, accusing WWE of not doing enough to protect them from concussions. That case was eventually dismissed in 2018, but it brought a lot of attention to how serious the long-term risks of pro wrestling really are. And then came the financial troubles. In 2018, news broke that Paul Orndorff was at risk of losing his home because he hadn't paid his property taxes. It was a heartbreaking moment that showed just how rough life after wrestling can be. His son stepped in and started a GoFundMe campaign to try and save the house. Thankfully, fans chipped in and helped raise the money. But it was a powerful reminder. This guy was once a headliner in the wrestling world, and now he needed help just to keep a roof over his head. All right, now let's get into the good stuff. Paul Orndorff's wrestling career, where he truly made his name. After his football days were over, Paul Orndorff started tuning into championship wrestling from Florida in the mid-1970s. That lit the spark. He reached out to his father-in-law, who happened to know someone connected to Florida promoter Eddie Graham. That connection opened the door to professional wrestling. Orndorff officially entered the business in 1976, starting with Mid-Southern Wrestling. It didn't take long for him to make waves. He had an early feud with a young Jerry Lawler and even beat him for the NWA Southern Heavyweight title in June 1977. Though he dropped the title back to Lawler before moving on, Orndorff's star was already rising. Next, he landed in the NWA Tri-State Territory and clashed with the big man, Ernie Ladd. Orndorff managed to win the North American Heavyweight title from Ladd not once, but twice in 1978, although both reigns were short-lived, with Ladd reclaiming the title each time. He continued building his reputation in the NWA, feuding with the Masked Superstar and picking up the nickname the Brandon Bull, a throwback to his football roots. In late 1978, he and Jimmy Snuka captured the NWA World Tag Team titles, holding them for 5 months before losing them to Baron von Raschke and Paul Jones. By 1979, Orndorff was in Alabama with Southeast Championship Wrestling, mainly competing in tag team matches. He teamed with Dick Slater to win the Southeast Tag titles, then later partnered with Norvell Austin, who at the time was calling himself the Junkyard Dog. The duo won the belts, lost them, and won them again before Austin and his rivals Condrey and Rose formed what would become the Midnight Express. In 1980, Orndorff began bouncing between Alabama and Mid-South. Eventually, he focused full-time on Mid-South wrestling. One of his standout feuds there was with Ken Mantell, who had a gimmick of cutting opponents' hair. Orndorff beat Mantell and earned the right to use the infamous Freebird hair cream on him. He was supposed to challenge the grappler for the North American title, but he overslept and missed the match. Jake, the Snake Roberts, took his spot and won the title, which infuriated Orndorff and led to his heel turn. He eventually beat Roberts for the title on July 4, 1981. During his run as North American champion, Orndorff feuded with names like Ted DiBiase, Junkyard Dog, Dusty Rhodes, and Dick Murdoch, but he lost the title to DiBiase in November. In the storyline, Orndorff missed the rematch due to car trouble, and his friend Bob Roop took the opportunity and won the title. Turns out, Roop had sabotaged Orndorff's car. That betrayal turned Orndorff babyface, and he feuded with Roop before leaving Mid-South. In early 1982, Orndorff showed up in Georgia Championship Wrestling and went after Buzz Sawyer for the NWA National Heavyweight title. He won it in June, gave it up to chase Ric Flair's world title, then reclaimed it later that summer. He traded the title back and forth with the Masked Superstar and Super Destroyer. Eventually, Larry Zbyszko bribed Killer Tim Brooks to beat Orndorff and hand over the belt, but NWA President Bob Geigel stepped in and stripped Zbyszko of the title. After that wild run, Orndorff went overseas to wrestle in New Japan Pro Wrestling in 1983. He had matches with top names like Riki Choshu and Antonio Inoki, and even teamed with Big John Studd. That same year, Orndorff signed with the WWF and made his debut in November. By January 1984, he had Rowdy Roddy Piper as his manager, and Piper gave him the nickname Mr. Wonderful. Orndorff got a big push right away. He was one of the first challengers to Hulk Hogan's newly won WWF World title. Even after Hogan moved on, Orndorff stayed in the spotlight, feuding with stars like Tito Santana and teaming with Piper to battle Jimmy Snuka and the Tonga Kid. As 1984 came to a close, the storyline attack on Cyndi Lauper by Piper pushed Orndorff right into a major feud involving Hogan and Mr. T. Orndorff beat Tony Atlas at the war to settle the score and then took center stage in the main event of the very first WrestleMania, teaming with Piper to face Hogan and Mr. T. The match ended when Bob Orton accidentally hit Orndorff, costing their team the match. Piper and Orton blamed Orndorff for the loss and turned on him. Orndorff's face turn was sealed when he came to Hogan's rescue and later fired his manager Bobby Heenan. He teamed with Hogan to battle Piper and Orton and became one of the top good guys in the company. He even partnered with Bruno Sammartino and Andre the Giant to keep fighting off the heels. Heenan was furious and put a bounty on Orndorff's head, eventually raising it to $50,000. But Orndorff's biggest heel turn was yet to come. Adrian Adonis began mocking him, calling him Hulk Jr., and saying he was riding Hogan's coattails. When Orndorff called Hogan during a live segment and was told he was too busy to talk, the insult hit home. The next time they teamed up, Orndorff showed off, scored the winning pin himself, and grew more distant. Then came the infamous moment. During a tag match against Studd and Bundy, Hogan accidentally knocked Orndorff off the apron. Orndorff waited, and when the moment was right, he helped Hogan up, then clotheslined him and delivered a piledriver. With that, Mr. Wonderful was back as a heel. He rejoined Heenan, stole Hogan's theme music, and reignited their feud. Even after a serious arm injury from weightlifting, Orndorff didn't take time off. He kept going strong, drawing massive crowds. Their cage match on Saturday night's main event ended with a controversial finish, but once the match was restarted, Hogan finally got the win and ended their rivalry, at least for now. Then he began a new storyline in mid-1995 that leaned into his frustrations. He would look in the mirror and question whether he was still Mr. Wonderful, It was a unique, introspective angle that showed a different side of Orndorff, a man struggling with aging and the fading of his once pristine abilities. To reinforce this character shift, Orndorff brought in motivational speaker and real-life self-help guru, Gary Spivey. Spivey's bizarre look and eccentric personality added a surreal touch to the segment, which ended with Orndorff regaining his confidence. He began calling himself Mr. Wonderful again, adopting an over-the-top persona that exaggerated his glory days, complete with a self-obsessed entrance routine featuring a mirror and bombastic theme music. Although he never returned to main event status, Orndorff continued wrestling mid-card matches throughout late 1995. One memorable moment came when he defeated a young Chris Kanyon and mocked him afterward in classic arrogant fashion. However, a legitimate neck injury worsened during a match with Sting in late 1995. This injury, along with the long-term nerve damage in his right arm, dating back to his feud with Hulk Hogan, finally caught up with him. On a December 1995 episode of WCW Saturday Night, Orndorff was attacked by the Four Horsemen in a storyline angle designed to write him off TV. After a brutal beatdown, Orndorff was stretchered out and officially retired from in-ring competition. For now, even after retirement, Orndorff remained with WCW. He transitioned into a backstage role as a trainer at the WCW power plant, helping mold future stars like Bill Goldberg and Mark Jindrak. His old-school toughness and no-nonsense teaching style earned respect from many trainees. Surprisingly, Orndorff laced up the boots one last time in 2000. He made a cameo at Fall Brawl 2000 in a match against the Natural Born Thrillers as part of a team of WCW veterans. During the match, he collapsed mid-ring due to a stinger and had to be taken out. While fans were concerned, Orndorff recovered and used the incident as confirmation that it was truly time to hang up the boots for good. In 2005, he was rightfully inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame by Bobby the Brain Heenan, bringing his story full circle. Despite the ups and downs, Paul Orndorff's career was defined by intensity, charisma, and a deep love for professional wrestling. Whether he was Mr. Wonderful or questioning if he still had it, he left a lasting legacy across multiple eras and promotions. That wraps up today's video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe so you never miss an update. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again soon. Take care and stay safe.